Come back with me 176 years ago to Christmas Eve of 1849 at First Parish in Wayland, Massachusetts, a Unitarian congregation founded nearly 400 years ago in 1640, and still an active and thriving UU congregation today. At that time, their minister was the Reverend Dr. Edmund Sears. As he sat down to write his annual Christmas homily, he found it difficult to muster much Christmas hope or cheer, given all that was unfolding in the world around him. I wonder if any of you feel like that this year. Not unlike today, Sears was writing during a moment of great uncertainty and upheaval. The Mexican-American War had just ended, leaving moral scars on our country and unanswered questions in its wake. It's worth remembering that our Unitarian forebear, Henry David Thoreau, was jailed for refusing to pay a tax to support just that war, and an act of conscience that later inspired him to write his famous essay, Civil Disobedience. Across Europe, revolutions were flaring and faltering, stirring hopes for democracy even as they revealed the brutal cost that sometimes comes from political change. And closer to home, the United States was being pulled apart, in this case, in a battle over enslavement, and poverty was painfully present in Sears's own congregation and community. I suspect, again, that some of that may feel familiar. On top of all that, Sears himself was struggling. He was worn down, discouraged, wrestling with a period of profound melancholy. The world around him felt heavy, unjust, and broken. And that weight had settled deep into his spirit. With Christmas approaching, he longed to offer words of comfort and courage to his congregation. But even lifting his own heart above the sorrow that he witnessed all around him felt impossible. And yet, still, somehow, he wrote. Not because everything was fine, not because peace had arrived, but because Christmas at its best has never been about denying the darkness. It has always been about daring to speak of light within it. So as he reread those ancient words from Luke chapter 2 that we heard read earlier, he unexpectedly found himself inspired to write a poem for that year's Christmas service of 1849, that poem that we now know of as the lyrics to It Came Upon a Midnight Clear. A hymn born not of easy optimism, but of hard-won hope. Words written by someone who knew despair firsthand and who chose even then to see if he could give new voice to peace that the angels were said to have sung. In addition to serving as a minister, Sears also had a side hustle as a magazine and newspaper editor, and he deemed his own writing to conveniently be worthy of publication. I mean, I think he was right about that, but so just days later, he published his poem, December 29th, 1849, where it was then read a little bit later by the composer Richard Willis, and in a happy synchronicity, a melody that Willis had written earlier proved to be a perfect match for Sears's words, and a new Christmas carol was born. The poem was written in 1849. The carol began to circulate widely the following year in 1850, making this Christmas season its 175th anniversary. In verse 1, in a classic Unitarian move, notice that Sears does not begin with doctrine or belief. This song is not about 20 impossible things to believe before breakfast. Instead, he invites us to slow down and listen. It came upon a midnight clear. The world in solemn stillness lay to hear the angels sing. This is not the stillness of everything being resolved. It is not the stillness of an easy peace. It is the stillness that makes listening possible. And it is this stillness we are invited to experiment with touching into tonight. Christmas Eve liturgy invites us into that same posture: candlelight, quiet, a pause from the rush of ordinary life. And this now classic carol quietly asks us, even now, what might we hear if we are quiet enough? Remember, when he sat down, he didn't know what he was going to write, but in making that quiet and space, he found himself writing what we will soon sing. What song of peace might still be hovering near us even now? If verse 1 invites us into stillness, verse 2 reminds us that peace does not depend on silence to exist. Notice the repetition of the word still in verse 2. Still through the cloven skies they come, with peaceful wings unfurled, and still their heavenly music floats o'er all the weary world, and ever over its babel sounds the blessed angels sing. The song still floats. Peace is not absent, but it is all too easily drowned out sometimes. And his reference to the ancient Tower of Babel remains deeply relevant today. Our world is loud with competing voices, clashing fears, unfinished justice, confusion, and division. And yet the song of peace keeps coming if we will listen. That brings us to verse 3. This is the heart of the hymn, and the place where Sears is most honest. This hymn does not blame individuals, it names systems, war, injustice, cycles of harm that roll on through history. We know these systems well, not only from the history books, we know them from our own headlines. Peace is being sung, but too many of our fellow humans do not hear it. Not because the song is weak, but because the noise is loud. But with the woes of war and strife, the world has suffered long. Beneath the angel strain have rolled 2,000 years of wrong. And we who fight the wars hear not the love song which they bring. Oh, hush, hush the noise of battle strife, and hear the angels sing. And finally, we come to verse 4. Sears does not promise that peace has already arrived. He imagines a future still coming, a hope unfolding. For lo, the days are hastening on, by prophets, bards foretold, when the ever-circling years come round the age of gold, when peace shall reign over all the earth, its ancient splendors fling, and the whole world give back the song which now the angels sing. This is not passive optimism, it is moral hope. The conviction that peace is possible, but it is not inevitable. That the world might one day sing a song of peace if we choose to learn it, to live it, to give it back to the world. As Unitarian Universalists, those themes can resonate deeply. We are not waiting for angels to arrive and save us. Our commitment is to work for peace, liberty, and justice right here, right now, in our time on this earth. We are not called simply to hear or sing old words. We are called to inhabit them, to find stillness where we can, to listen more carefully to what might be possible, to ask questions gently and honestly. How will we carry this peace into Christmas Day and into the new year to come? For now, in much the same way that the Reverend Edmund Sears wrote It Came Upon a Midnight Clear as an original Christmas poem for his Unitarian congregation more than 175 years ago, I want to close with just the final stanzas of an original Christmas poem written just days ago by my UU colleague, the Reverend Dr. Jason Cook. He does this every year. He writes a few Christmas poems, and he listens. And he listens and he writes, just as Sears did in his own time. In Jason's words, I'm not much of a believer in infant messiahs or miracles wrapped in swaddling clothes. But there's still something in that story, hope arriving in the most ordinary places. I need a persistent Christmas this year, if only to thumb my nose at the would-be king, to insist that hope still arrives in the middle of the night, that compassion refuses to die out, that goodwill keeps finding ways to be born into the world again. And we will keep birthing it, stubbornly, defiantly, no matter what any king decrees. We'll keep hanging stars across the night, keep lighting candles against the cold, keep choosing each other again and again. May we keep choosing each other this Christmas and every Christmas to come. In that spirit, I invite you to rise and embody your spirit as we sing together, "It Came Upon a Midnight Clear." As we sing, may you hear these words anew, both an echo of their historical depth and their resonance for us today.